The hall was loud, filled with voices, laughter, and the sound of coins being counted. Bright lamps burned above, casting light on the stage where cages were lined up. Inside the cages sat alien girls, some crying, some silent, some with eyes full of anger. They had all been captured, marked, and brought here to be sold like objects. The human, Daniel, stood in the crowd. He was tall, dressed simply, blending in with the traders, gamblers, and buyers who had come to this alien slave auction. But his eyes were different. They were sharp, searching, and restless, as if he was waiting for something he did not yet understand. The auctioneer shouted loudly, "Next lot. Young, healthy, trained for obedience." He slapped the side of a cage. Inside sat a girl with silver hair and glowing blue eyes. She looked no older than 20. Her clothes were torn, her body thin, and her prosthetic arm was rusted. She hugged her knees tightly, her gaze lowered. The crowd whistled and laughed. "Too broken," one man said. "She won't last long," another sneered. "Cheap goods," a woman chuckled. But when the auctioneer pulled her to the front, the girl finally raised her head. Her eyes searched the crowd desperately, filled with a fear so raw it made even the greedy buyers pause, and then she whispered, her voice trembling yet clear, "Please, don't leave me here. Brand me yours, but don't leave me." The hall went silent for a heartbeat. No one expected her to speak. No one expected her to beg. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He had seen many things, wars, battles, hunger, but never had he seen a look like this. She was not asking for riches, not asking for freedom. She was asking simply not to be abandoned. The auctioneer smirked. "See, she knows her place. Who will take her? Let's start low. 5 credits." The crowd laughed again. Some lifted their hands half-heartedly, but it was clear no one truly wanted her. She was weak. She was damaged. She was not worth the trouble. The girl's voice broke again. "Please, someone—" Her eyes scanned the sea of faces, but most turned away. To them, she was nothing but broken merchandise. Daniel's heart pounded. He told himself to stay quiet. He told himself he came only to watch, not to interfere. But her voice kept echoing in his head. "Don't leave me. 5 credits. Do I hear 6? The auctioneer barked. Silence. 5 credits going once. The girl's lips trembled. A single tear slid down her cheek, catching the light. She whispered again, softer this time, as if her hope was dying. "Please." Daniel's hand moved before he could stop it. Slowly his finger lifted into the air. The crowd gasped. Heads turned. A human had raised his hand. The auctioneer's eyes gleamed. "We have a bid. 6 credits. Do I hear 7? But no one else spoke. No one else raised their hands. The room was suddenly heavy. Every eye fixed on Daniel and the girl. The auctioneer slammed his hand on the podium. Sold to the human. The cage door creaked open. Chains rattled as the girl was led forward, her steps weak, her body trembling. She looked up at Daniel, her blue eyes shining with both disbelief and fear. "Why? Why would you buy me?" She whispered. Daniel didn't answer. Not yet, because even he didn't know why. All he knew was that something inside him refused to let her be left behind. And in that crowded, hostile auction hall, Daniel realized he had just taken the first step into something far bigger than himself. The auction hall doors slammed shut behind Daniel as he stepped into the cold night. The alien girl walked beside him, her steps unsteady, the heavy chains clinking with every movement. The city lights burned far above, neon signs flashing, but down here in the lower district the shadows felt alive, crawling with danger. Daniel kept his head low. He knew many eyes had watched him inside. A human raising a bid at an alien slave auction was not normal. Some would laugh. Others would feel insulted. And a few might even follow him. The girl's voice broke the silence. Why did you do it?" Her words were soft, almost fragile, like she feared the answer. Daniel didn't look at her. "Because no one else did." She blinked at him, her silver hair falling into her face. "That's not an answer. You don't even know me. I'm broken. They call me useless." She lifted her rusted prosthetic arm, the metal screeching as it moved. "I can't fight. I can't work. You wasted your credits." Daniel finally stopped walking. His sharp eyes turned toward her, serious and calm. "I didn't waste them." His tone left no room for argument. The girl looked away, her throat tightening. No one had ever spoken to her like that, like her life had value. But before she could say anything more, Daniel's instincts sharpened. The air behind them felt wrong. Too quiet, too heavy. "Stay close," he muttered. From the shadows of the alley, 3 figures appeared. Not buyers, not guards. These were scavengers, men with hungry eyes and jagged blades. They had followed Daniel from the hall, waiting for the right moment. Well, well, the first one sneered, stepping forward. His teeth were yellow, his cloak torn. The human bought himself a shiny toy. How about you hand her over and walk away before you get hurt? The girl's heart froze. She had seen men like these before. They didn't buy slaves, they stole them. And when they stole them, no one ever saw the girls again. Daniel didn't move. He stood tall, calm as stone. Not happening. The second scavenger laughed. Look at him. 1 human against 3 of us? Brave. Or stupid? The girl tugged at Daniel's sleeve. Her voice shook. Please, let me go. I'm not worth fighting for. They'll kill you. Daniel's jaw tightened. He didn't even look at her. Quiet. The first scavenger lunged. His blade flashed in the neon light, but Daniel was faster. His hand shot out, catching the man's wrist. With a twist and a shove, the scavenger crashed against the wall, his weapon clattering to the ground. The other 2 froze, shocked. This human wasn't ordinary. His movements were sharp, precise, like a soldier. You still want to try? Daniel's voice was cold. The scavengers exchanged a glance. One spat on the ground. Not worth it. Keep your broken prize, human. They melted back into the shadows, their footsteps fading. The girl stared at Daniel, her mouth slightly open. You fight like a soldier. Daniel said nothing. He only adjusted the strap on his jacket and started walking again. She hurried after him, chains dragging. Why protect me? You could have let them take me. You don't even know my name. He finally glanced at her. Then tell me. Her lips trembled. My name is Lyra. For a moment, silence fell between them. Daniel repeated it in his mind. Lyra. It fit her, fragile yet luminous, like a star hidden beneath rust and chains. But Daniel also knew something else. By raising his finger at that auction, by fighting off scavengers, he had crossed a line. He wasn't just a bystander anymore. He had chosen her, and somewhere deep in his gut, he knew others would come, buyers, raiders, maybe even the ones who owned the auction itself. As the city's neon lights flickered above, Daniel whispered under his breath, "This isn't over." Lyra shivered, not from the cold, but from the strange feeling rising inside her, hope. For the first time in years, someone had refused to leave her behind. Daniel led Lyra through the narrow streets of the lower district, his steps quick, his eyes sharp. The alleys were filled with smoke, neon signs blinking in strange languages and the smell of oil mixed with decay. He moved like someone who knew danger could strike at any corner. Lyra struggled to keep up, the heavy chains around her wrists clinking with every step. Her legs were weak, her rusted prosthetic arm dragging awkwardly against her side. Still, she followed him without question. Something in his calm presence made her trust him, though she didn't know why. Finally, Daniel stopped at a rundown inn tucked between 2 warehouses. Its flickering red sign barely glowed. "We'll stay here for the night," he muttered. The innkeeper, a short alien with 4 eyes, squinted at Daniel when he entered. "You bring trouble with you, human," he grumbled, eyeing Lyra's chains. "Just give us a room," Daniel said flatly, sliding a few credits across the counter. The alien hesitated, then pocketed the money. "Top floor, room 9. But don't say I didn't warn you." Inside the small room, Lyra sat quietly on the edge of the bed. Her silver hair fell across her face, her blue eyes dim in the low light. She looked at the floor as if expecting Daniel to order her around like the others had. Instead, Daniel crouched down in front of her. Without a word, he pulled a small tool from his pocket and started working on her chains. Lyra flinched. "Wait, what are you doing?" "Getting rid of these," Daniel said. "You're not a slave anymore." Her throat tightened. You don't understand. If anyone sees me free, they'll hunt me. The auction house, they own me." The lock clicked open and the chains slid to the ground with a heavy thud. Daniel looked her straight in the eye. Not anymore. For the first time in years, Lyra rubbed her wrists without the bite of iron. The weight was gone, but her fear remained. Before she could speak again, heavy footsteps echoed outside the door. Voices, harsh and impatient. Daniel's hand went to his sidearm instantly. His instincts screamed trouble. The door rattled. A deep voice barked, "Open up, human! We know you're in there with her." Lyra's heart froze. "They found us." Daniel didn't panic. His mind calculated quickly. "Who are they?" he whispered. Her lips trembled. "Auction enforcers. They put a bounty on me." Anyone who helps me is marked too. The voice outside growled. You've made a mistake, human. That girl is property of the exchange. Hand her over and maybe we'll let you live. Daniel's eyes hardened. He pulled Lyra gently toward the window. Stay behind me. The door splintered as heavy boots kicked it open. 3 armed enforcers stormed inside, their black armor gleaming in the neon glow from outside. Daniel didn't hesitate. He fired once, clean, precise. The first enforcer dropped. The others ducked for cover, their weapons lighting the room with bursts of plasma. Lyra cowered against the wall, covering her ears, her body trembling. She had seen many humans before, but never one who stood against the exchange. They were feared across the colonies. Yet here was this single human, calm and steady, fighting for her as if her life meant something. Go, Daniel shouted, smashing the window with his elbow. Glass shattered, cold night air rushing in. He helped Lyra through just as another plasma shot burned past his shoulder. They landed hard in the alley below. Daniel grabbed her hand and pulled her into the shadows. Behind them, shouts and footsteps echoed. They won't stop, Lyra whispered, her voice breaking. They'll keep hunting us. Daniel's grip on her hand tightened. Then we keep moving. As they disappeared into the maze of the city, neon lights flashing above, Lyra felt something strange inside her chest. Fear, yes, but also a spark of hope she thought she had lost forever. For the first time, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, this human could do the impossible. Daniel moved quickly through the dark alleys, never stopping for long. He knew the exchange's enforcers would spread across the city soon, hunting every shadow. He needed somewhere safe, somewhere off the grid. Lyra followed close behind, her breaths uneven, her prosthetic arm scraping when it caught against the walls. She had never run this much before, but she forced herself to keep up. She had no choice. The human who bought her had not abandoned her, even when the bounty hunters came. That alone was reason enough to keep moving. At last, Daniel led her to an old freight yard on the edge of the district. The gates were rusted, the walls half collapsed, but hidden among the ruins was a steel door covered in old graffiti. Daniel knocked 3 times, then waited. A slit opened in the door. 2 suspicious eyes stared out. Password. Daniel's voice was calm. No password. Just tell Ryan an old soldier came calling. The eyes narrowed, then disappeared. Moments later, the heavy lock clanked open. A tall alien man with scarred skin stepped out. His face broke into a grin. Daniel, you're alive. Daniel gave a small nod. Ryan, the 2 clasped arms like old comrades. Lyra stood back, nervous, unsure if this was friend or foe. Ryan's gaze shifted to her. And who's this? She's under my protection, Daniel said firmly. Ryan raised a brow but didn't argue. Fine, come in. The safe house inside was dim, lit only by a few lanterns. Old weapons, crates, and maps filled the space. Lyra sat quietly on a bench while the 2 men talked. You've got trouble, human, Ryan said, pouring a drink. Word on the street is the exchange put a bounty on a silver-haired girl. High reward, dead or alive. Daniel's jaw tightened. They want her back. Ryan smirked bitterly. They don't want her back. They want to make an example of her. Whoever she is, she must mean more than she looks. Daniel glanced at Lyra. She lowered her head quickly, avoiding his eyes. Ryan caught the silence. You haven't asked her? Not yet, Daniel admitted. Lyra's hands clenched in her lap. She whispered, If you knew the truth, you wouldn't have saved me. Daniel crouched in front of her. His voice was steady. Tell me anyway. Her blue eyes shimmered in the lantern light. She swallowed hard, then spoke. I wasn't just another slave. I was property of someone powerful. A lord in the exchange. I was supposed to be his personal project. But I resisted. I broke machines. I tried to escape. He called me defective. She lifted her rusted prosthetic arm. He said I was a failure. So he threw me into the auction. Daniel frowned. So why the bounty? Lyra hesitated. Then her voice dropped even lower. Because I carry something they want. Inside me. Ryan leaned forward, shocked. Inside you? What are you talking about? Lyra touched her chest. When they made me, they implanted a core, a shard of alien tech. I don't know what it does, but it's valuable. Too valuable. That's why they don't want me free. If I live long enough, someone else might discover it. The room went silent. Daniel studied her face, searching for any sign of a lie. But all he saw was fear and truth. Finally, he stood. Then we'll protect you. Whatever it is, they're not getting it back. Lyra's lips parted. She had expected him to push her away, to curse her for hiding this secret. Instead, he spoke like a shield placed between her and the world. But before hope could settle, the sound of boots echoed outside the safe house. Ryan grabbed his weapon. They're here already. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Then we fight. Lyra's heart raced. She pressed against the wall, trembling. The exchange had found them, again. And this time, they came prepared. As the door shook under heavy blows, Daniel raised his weapon and whispered to himself. No one takes her. Lyra closed her eyes, clutching her chest where the hidden shard pulsed faintly. For the first time, she prayed the human could keep his promise. The steel door of the safe house rattled under heavy blows. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the lantern swayed with each strike. Ryan cursed under his breath, loading his weapon. They brought a full squad. Exchange dogs don't waste time. Daniel moved calmly, checking the magazine of his sidearm. His heartbeat was steady, his eyes sharp. This wasn't his first siege. How many exits? Just one, Ryan muttered. The door they're breaking. Lyra's hands shook as she pressed herself against the wall. Her breaths came short and fast. They'll kill us. You don't understand. The exchange never stops. Daniel's voice cut through her fear. Then we don't stop either. The door finally cracked open. A flash grenade rolled inside, hissing. Daniel reacted instantly, kicking it back out before it detonated. The blast shook the street instead, sending shouts of anger from the enforcers. Move, Daniel barked. The first wave of armored soldiers burst through. Daniel's shots were precise, each one dropping an enemy before they could aim. Ryan roared, firing his heavy rifle, the recoil shaking his massive arms. Plasma fire lit the safe house, turning the small room into chaos. Lyra covered her ears, trembling as the noise thundered around her. But her eyes widened when she saw Daniel, his movements exact, his focus unbroken. He fought not like a desperate man, but like a soldier who had already survived 100 battles. Still, the exchange kept coming. More boots stormed the stairs, more shadows filled the doorway. Ryan shouted, "We'll be overrun!" Daniel's jaw tightened. He grabbed a crate and flipped it for cover. Then we hold. Lyra's chest pounded. She wanted to scream, to run, but something else stirred inside her. A strange warmth beneath her skin, deep where the hidden shard rested. Each blast of plasma, each shout of battle seemed to make it thrum louder, like it was waking. An enforcer charged through, blade raised. Daniel turned too late. "Daniel!" Lyra cried out. Her prosthetic arm jerked suddenly, glowing faint blue. Energy surged down its rusted frame, and with a flash, a force burst outward. The enforcer flew back, crashing into the wall, his armor sparking. Silence froze the room for half a heartbeat. Even Daniel stared. Lyra held her arm, breathing hard. The glow faded as quickly as it appeared, leaving the metal cold again. Her voice shook. I don't know how that happened." Daniel's gaze narrowed. He didn't look afraid. He looked certain. The shard. "It's waking," Ryan spat, reloading. "Great, now they'll want her even more." The door banged again, heavier this time. Outside, orders barked. They were preparing another push. Daniel knelt beside Lyra, his eyes steady. "Can you do it again?" Her throat tightened. I don't know. It just happened." He nodded once. "Then don't think, just feel. Stay behind us, but if it comes, let it out." Lyra's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of her arm. Fear twisted inside her, but so did something else. Hope. For once, she wasn't only a burden. The next wave hit hard. Enforcers hurled smoke canisters inside, filling the room with choking haze. Figures stormed through, shouting, their weapons flashing. Daniel moved like lightning, striking, dodging, firing. Ryan's rifle thundered, cutting down enemies in sprays of light. But one enforcer broke past them, heading straight for Lyra. Her heart screamed. Instinct surged. Her prosthetic arm blazed bright again, a shield of energy flaring out. The attacker slammed into it and fell, stunned. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. "Good. You're not broken, Lyra. You're more than they know." Her breath hitched. For the first time, she believed him. But outside, a new sound rose. Heavy engines. The ground shook as something massive rolled closer. Ryan's face darkened. They brought an armored carrier. Daniel's eyes hardened. Then this safe house won't hold. He grabbed Lyra's hand firmly, pulling her toward the back wall. "We run, now," Ryan growled but nodded. "I'll cover you." As they slipped into the shadows of the freight yard, Lyra looked back one last time. The safe house burned with smoke and light, soldiers swarming inside. She knew the exchange would never stop, but now she also knew something else. She was not weak, and with Daniel beside her, she might even survive. The night was alive with alarms. Sirens wailed across the district, red lights flashing from towers above. Daniel pulled Lyra through the freight yard, his grip firm, his pace fast. Ryan followed close behind, rifle ready, covering their backs. Behind them, the safe house was already burning. Enforcers stormed through the ruins, shouting into comms, their voices echoing. The exchange had unleashed the hunt, and Daniel knew the city itself had become a trap. "Where are we going?" Lyra gasped, stumbling as her prosthetic arm scraped the wall. "Out of the lower district," Daniel said sharply. "If they close the gates, we're finished," Ryan cursed. "They'll close them any minute. We'll need a miracle to slip through." Lyra's chest tightened. She wanted to be brave, but every corner they turned seemed to hold shadows waiting to swallow them. Her arm still tingled from the strange burst of power. She could barely understand it, and yet deep inside she felt it pulsing stronger, like it wanted to be used again. They reached a marketplace, long abandoned at night. Stalls stood empty, banners flapping in the wind. Daniel signaled for silence, guiding them between crates. But before they could move further, a spotlight swept across the square. "Down," Daniel hissed, pulling Lyra close. A patrol drone hovered above, its metal eye glowing red. It scanned the square, searching. Ryan raised his rifle, but Daniel shook his head. "No, too loud." The drone drifted closer, its hum vibrating through the air. Lyra's breaths grew shallow. If it saw them, the enforcers would close in. She felt the shard inside her stir, answering her fear. Her arm glowed faint blue again, faint sparks running across the rusted joints. Daniel noticed. His voice was low but firm. "Control it, Lyra. Quiet, not now." Her eyes widened. "I can't." The glow suddenly flared. A wave of static burst out and the drone's eye flickered. It spun wildly, sparks flying, then crashed to the ground with a heavy clang. Silence followed. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then shouts erupted in the distance. The enforcers had noticed. Daniel grabbed her hand. "Move!" They sprinted through narrow alleys as boots thundered behind them. Plasma bolts scorched the walls, lighting the night in flashes. Ryan turned every few steps, firing short bursts to slow the pursuit. Lyra's heart pounded. Her body screamed to stop, but Daniel's hand pulled her forward, steady and strong. She could barely think, but one thought burned clear. He hasn't let go of me once. They reached the edge of the district where massive gates loomed, guarded by armored troops. Floodlights lit the steel walls, turning the night into harsh daylight. Dozens of eyes scanned the area. Ryan growled. "We can't break through that." Daniel's gaze swept the walls quickly, calculating. His voice was calm. "Then we go over." Lyra's breath caught. "Over? That wall is high, yes," Daniel cut in, "but better than walking into their guns." He led them to a stack of old cargo containers piled near the wall. With Ryan's help, he shoved one against another, creating a rough climb. Plasma bolts cracked behind them as the enforcers spotted movement. "Go, Lyra," Daniel ordered. She shook her head, fear locking her limbs. "I can't, I'll fall." Daniel crouched in front of her, his eyes burning with certainty. "Look at me. You're stronger than you think. Trust me." Her lips trembled, but she nodded. With his hands guiding her, she climbed, each step heavier than the last. Her prosthetic arm sparked again, gripping the metal tighter than before. She pulled herself higher, faster, almost without meaning to. At the top, she turned, breathless. Ryan climbed behind her, cursing but moving with force. Daniel was last, covering their backs as bolts tore into the containers. An enforcer leapt, nearly reaching the stack. Daniel kicked him back, then hauled himself over the wall. On the other side, darkness stretched wide, fields of broken land and distant lights of settlements. For the first time, the city was behind them. Lyra stood on shaky legs, staring at the open horizon. Her heart raced, but her eyes burned with something new. Freedom was out there. Ryan spat into the dirt. "We're not safe yet." "They'll send hunters." Daniel nodded. "Then let them come." He looked at Lyra, his voice steady. "You're not property, Lyra, remember that. You're more than what they made you." Her throat tightened. For years she had been told she was broken, worthless, disposable. But standing here beyond the walls, she felt a spark inside her chest that told her otherwise. For the first time, she believed she might be something more. The night beyond the city walls was cold and silent. Broken fields stretched under the pale moon, dotted with ruins of old machines. Daniel, Lyra, and Rian moved quickly, their breaths clouding in the air. For a moment, Lyra allowed herself to breathe. The walls were behind them. The shouts, the sirens, the smoke, they had escaped. But deep inside, she knew the exchange would not stop. Not until she was in chains again. Or dead. Daniel felt it too. His eyes scanned the horizon, never resting, his hand always near his weapon. He had survived too many hunts to believe it was over. Ryan growled as he trudged forward. We bought ourselves time, nothing more. They'll send their best now. As if answering his words, the night split with the roar of engines. From the sky, a dark shape descended, sleek, armored, deadly. A hunter craft. It landed ahead, blocking their path. The engines died, leaving only the sound of the wind. The door hissed open and a tall figure stepped out. The hunter. Clad in black armor, his mask glowing red, he moved with the calm of someone who had ended many lives. A plasma blade hummed in his hand, casting long shadows across the ground. Ryan spat. We're finished. Daniel's stance hardened. No, not yet. The hunter's voice came through the mask, cold and distorted. The girl is property of the exchange. Hand her over and your deaths will be quick. Lyra's chest tightened. She wanted to hide, to vanish, but Daniel stepped in front of her, his body a shield. His voice was steady. She's not property. Not anymore. The hunter tilted his head. Then you die first. He moved like lightning, blade slashing. Daniel blocked with his weapon, sparks flying. The two clashed in the moonlight, each strike shaking the ground. Ryan fired his rifle, but the hunter deflected the bolts with impossible speed, forcing him back. Lyra froze, her heart pounding. Every instinct screamed to run, but Daniel's voice echoed in her memory. You're not broken, Lyra, you're more than what they made you. The shard inside her pulsed, brighter, stronger. Her prosthetic arm blazed blue, light running through every rusted joint. She felt power flood her veins, wild and untamed. The hunter struck Daniel hard, sending him crashing to the dirt. He raised his blade for the killing blow. Stop! Lyra's voice tore through the night. The light from her arm exploded outward, a shockwave of energy blasting across the field. The hunter staggered, his armor sparking, his mask flickering. The ground cracked beneath the force. Daniel gasped, shielding his eyes. Ryan cursed, stumbling back. Lyra stood at the center of it, her silver hair glowing in the storm of blue light, her eyes burning like twin stars. The hunter steadied himself, raising his blade again. But Lyra lifted her arm and the shard's power surged like a living thing, energy wrapped around her, forming a shield, then a blade of her own. She stepped forward. For the first time, she wasn't trembling. You won't take me back, she said, her voice clear. I am not yours, the hunter charged. Lyra met him head-on. Their blades clashed, blue against red, light against shadow. Sparks flew as the ground shook. Daniel tried to rise, but he stopped, watching her stand, not as a slave, but as something far greater. With one final cry, Lyra's energy flared, her blade cutting through the hunter's mask. The red glow shattered. His body fell silent in the dirt. The field went quiet. The storm of light faded slowly, leaving Lyra trembling but still standing. Daniel rose, blood on his lip but his eyes steady. He walked to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. You did it. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not of fear but of release. I thought I was broken. Daniel shook his head. No, you were never broken. They just didn't see you. Ryan looked at the fallen hunter, then at Lyra, shaking his head in disbelief. The exchange will never forgive this. They'll come harder. Daniel met his eyes. Then let them. She's not theirs anymore. Lyra looked at the horizon, the first glow of dawn touching the ruins. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of chains gone, not just from her wrists, but from her soul. She wasn't a slave. She wasn't property. She was free. And with Daniel beside her, she would never be left behind again.